Hi everyone, this is Brendan Burns, and I'm really happy to be joined today by Christina Bertsos, all the way from Tampa,
Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Wow. So is it hotter in New York or hotter in Tampa right now?
I think it's about the same. I mean, I think, or maybe you guys be. It's I can jump into the water if I have to.
Is that rain? I don't think that's rain.
No.
Well, Christina and I are here in Gallery Arte Azulejo on the Lower East Side in New York City at 154 Orchard Street. And I'm just thrilled. Last night we opened there was an art walk that we were a part of here on the Lower East Side. And tonight is the grand opening for Passion, of which Christina is a grand prize winner. And we're just thrilled to have you, join us for this whole time. And it's just one of the most fun things about what we're doing. I mean, CME really is about community. And so the meeting people and learning about artist stories and what motivated you and really helps engender the spark in your work is really important to us and our audience. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I'm completely thrilled and honored to be chosen, and it's a real gift. So I'm happy to be here and to share with everybody.
We are sitting in front of Aphrodite right now.
Aphrodite Rising.
Aphrodite Rising. And I wanted to ask you, as a starting point, there was a phrase, and I'm not going to get this wrong, in your bio, so not in the statement about the artwork, but in your bio, that really struck me. And for me, I'll tell you what it is in a second, but the reflection is on some themes, and I think there are some societal evolutionary trends that we're seeing. So it was basically around the relationship between beauty and power and consciousness, and the idea of softness as a strength, which I think is a very feminine idea. So I'd love to have you just react to that, and how you think about that concept.
Well, femininity is something that I've been thinking about for a while, and because it's something that I embody, of course, because I'm a woman, but what does it really mean? And I think that femininity is an energy, and it's an energy that's fluid, that's nurturing, that's life-giving. It's in mythology, the archetypal description of femininity is the mother and the earth and her life force and the giving of life. And I think that femininity is just this fluid, receptive way of being. It's loving, it's compassionate, but yet it's strong.
It can be firm when it needs to be.
It can be firm when it needs to be. And it's a balancing energy. So like the yin and yang, you've got the masculine force, but then you've got the yielding, sort of open, feminine nature, and together it's this beautiful creation that we call life.
Well, we live in, I want to dig into this concept just a little bit more, because we live in a time, I think in history, certainly in Western culture, where the ideas around race and gender and I think roles that people play are being challenged, right? Over and over and over again. And for many people, it's uncomfortable, as a white male in my 50s, I can, say, and who considers himself to be, reasonably evolved and progressive about these things, I still, can feel uncomfortable with, like, wait a second, that's not what I'm familiar with, growing up, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, as we see how those ideas are reflected in art and then mirrored in society and other trends, I think it's a trend that will define reality as we move forward.
I see that, yeah. It's been on my mind a lot. And I think that ultimately we're not male or female. We're our soul. We're kind of genderless. So maybe this is the beginning of an evolution to really see each other as one. I mean,
do you think genderless or both?
Or everything. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no.
right.
I mean, ultimately, if you take away the physicality, we're energy and we're everything, really, totality. So, you're identifying with the physical. You're identifying with the body and the way it looks, and that is an aspect of being male or female. But then, if you remove the body, what are we? We're energy, we're spirit, and that has no sex. That it's not physical. So maybe there's this hyper focus on this singularity of what you are, but then beyond that you are much more than that. And maybe that's how we're evolving.
So one of the famous quotes that's attributed to Michelangelo, when asked about a sculpture, and someone said, "How did you make this amazing, beautiful piece?" And he said, "I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set it free." Right? And I guess my question for you is, are you inspired by the material or the idea first, or is it something else altogether?
It's simultaneous, but the material is, I find so beautiful. When I first discovered stone, I was in fashion design, so I'm very tactile. I love fabric, and I specialize in couture, and so of course the exquisite silks and handmade fabric was enticing to me. So when I discovered stone, it's so beautiful. I'm a nature lover and attracted to nature and beauty, and so it felt like a natural pull to it. And so there's definitely, I begin with the stone because I feel like I want to give it respect. I do feel that there is something within the stone that wants to come out, and each one has its own character, its veining, its each one is unique. I really look at them as unique individuals.
Aphrodite Rising is, just from the stone perspective, it's so solid. It's heavy, if you guys can't tell.
It's small.
It's small, but mighty, absolutely. But it's beautiful and curvy and flowing and supple and just really, really gorgeous.
So the stone, yes, inspired. I begin with it. It's and it tells me. So I move very thoughtfully as I'm carving. I really, it's a slow art for me, and because I want to see. I'll work on each kind of angle. I work on the total piece, but then as I'm working on it, it's kind of telling me, okay, this is how we're moving with it. And when I first started with this particular stone and working with it, something really magical happened, because I've worked with Carrara marble, but this piece I just kept saying to myself, and I'm doing this for hours, this is so beautiful, like the stone is just, it's letting me, make these very fine lines, and it was a real pleasure to work with. I guess it's like a baker in dough. I was really enjoying making this piece. I don't know how to describe it. And so I was loving it, and I think that I infuse that, and I think the artist infuses their essence,
the energy
into each, all the works, and that's my goal.
So did you see the stone and then decide what it should be?
Well, it's a combination of what's going on in the world, like, femininity and gender and identity was a part of it. But with this particular piece, it was the year before my father passed away. And he's Greek, very proud Greek, and I went back to my roots. I love the classical Greek sculpture, but I also love modern art. And my stone work usually combines the two, and so I wanted to do something to, honor that heritage. And of course, this stone actually comes from Italy, but the Mediterranean and that whole area is something that I just want to connect with, and I feel very American, but I think at this point in my life, really, both of my parents are gone, and I'm looking back I'm looking at the heritage and what it means to be Greek, and I think that had an influence on the actual,
your roots.
My roots, yeah.
We're talking in part because our current open call is called Roots. You're going to have to submit something else.
I know. I have some in the works, so.
Amazing. There was something else I was going to ask you about that. So, in your writing, you talk about this particular stone, being picked by Don Silverberg. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us who this is? You're a self-taught sculptor.
Yes.
But Don Silverberg, the late Don Silverberg.
So self-taught, but yet everybody teaches me.
Yeah.
I've had, I call them my angels along the way, mentors that I've met that have guided me. And when I first started at the studio that I'm at, Don Silverberg was there, he's a professional sculptor. We all were working in stone, mostly stone wood. But I'd see him come and go, but there are other, the women that were there were really strong. I had Sylvia Holstein, she was in her 90s, and she was, they would just, as I was working, they would pass by and they would say, good, or, they would be kind of helping me. They studied in New York. So Don Silverberg, we pass each other, because it was an open studio, and then he left, and then ultimately passed away. But so years later, enters the stone, which the family saved from a time that he went to Italy, and that's like a pilgrimage for a stone carver to go see the quarries and the mountains where it all comes from. And he handpicked, I'm going to say at least a good 7 or 8 pieces to be shipped back. And as much information as I can get from, the people that are there is that mountain may not even be, it is owned by a family where he stayed, and they're not sure if they're quarrying anymore, but I knew, so I realized here's this beautiful piece of marble, and some working on it that he brought back, here, and he didn't have a chance to do it, but I'm doing it. Right. So I'm doing it for him. And so there's a lot wrapped up in this sculpture. I feel like I want to dedicate it to him, I want to dedicate it to my father, I want to dedicate it to women, beauty, femininity, strength.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a romantic piece for me.
Now, how long did you work on this piece?
I worked on it for at least 4 to 5 months, not every day. So in terms of hours, I'm going to say at least 300, 150 hours. And, this is a heavy piece. It started out at 100 pounds, and with sculpture and the heaviness of it, it's helpful to have a community.
Right.
People, we help each other, we move things, we, hoist things. You put a pebble underneath this and move it. That's how I move things a lot. Just put a little rock.
Wow. That's awesome.
So you can't really do too much lifting. You want to preserve your body, but it's a community creation.
That's so cool.
Ultimately, even though I'm making it takes people to help move it and transport it, and you help me lift it
Right.
out here. So these
I did.
I mean, and the beauty of this art, you know, when previously I was doing art and painting, it's just me in a solitary, but here I'm with people, I have to be with people. So
Right.
to help some of these stones that started out at 400 or 500 pounds, and I can't do it myself, and,
You didn't know me
that's,
for that.
that's really the beauty of it. I get to connect with so many different people. So I'm self-taught, but
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Christina, are there other materials that like to express your sculpture in?
This is the main one right now. This is my passion. So there was a time when I started, and I really started getting into it about 11 years ago. A few years went by, I loved it, and then I thought to myself, if I'm going to master this, which it can take a lifetime, I've got to devote my efforts to learning how to do it. And I'm still challenged. I mean, every piece challenges me. So I feel like I want to stick with this because it just requires that much like study and skill and practice. You've got to just get better and better. And if I left it, I would miss it. So.
In your process, do you go from 2D to 3D at all, or do you really start with a concept in your head and work on the material?
I can't think I think in terms of sculpture, I think in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't, my mind doesn't go from 2 to 3, it's just 3. It's just
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
So
Right.
that, you know, I've made maquettes in the past, and sometimes I'll do a little quick sketch. And so like right now I'm working on a piece, and I did a quick sketch of an idea that I have. But then I don't stick with it, but I look at it and I reflect on the inspiration, and then I go and it's gotta be in the moment, it's gotta be 3D. I have to look around, I have to be with it. So I usually don't think about it when I'm away. I'm with it, I'm doing it, and it's all three-dimensional. That's how I do.
So in terms of like when you think about your career and where you're going, and so what's worked in your, like as you think about it, and that kind of what tactics do you think about leaning into, you know, to grow like your goals, and if you have advice for other artists, we'd love to hear that too.
I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned now that I'm in the art world, now that I'm exhibiting in the art world, is building relationships. You've got to build relationships with people, and people, teachers, mentors, anyone that will help you or you know, bring you into that world and teach you, and just and nurture those, you know, and do it with a genuine heart, and not really to get somewhere, but
Right.
you want to be involved in the art world, and this is your love, this is your passion, and I would say that that's really important. Following your dreams and your heart above all else, and devoting yourself to your practice. So, you know, like a dancer or a musician, you've got to practice, and it's got to be, you want to be devoted to it. You have to say, okay, I've got to do this no matter what. I feel good or something's, you know, I'm very strict with my schedule, you know, so if someone said, hey, listen, do you want to go to the beach?
Right.
No.
No. I'm sculpting.
I'm sculpting, I would say, and devoted to your practice. So have a real practice that you give it respect and honor it, because it's important.
Yeah.
It's important to you, it's important for what you're giving back to the world. And then do your best. Just always do your best. Whatever, you know what your best is, right? And so there can't be compromising in terms of that.
I think that's excellent advice. I love the concept of really committing to a practice, and having rather than goals or being transactional about it, but thinking about the practice as the thing that you are feeding, right?
Yes.
Because everything else is an outcome. That's the result of that. I think that's beautiful.
Joseph Campbell, which is someone that I love, he always said, follow your bliss. If you follow your bliss, you're in harmony with your life and with learning and with growing. I want to progress in my work as an artist. As a human being, I want to learn, I want to evolve, and don't really want to remain static. But if I'm joyful and happy, doors just open. Where they weren't open, they're open. So I think being sensitive to that, it's a really kind of sort of internal, sense where to go.
Yep.
Instead of too logical.
The intuition part of it is so true. Well, I think you've achieved that here, and we're thrilled that you're a part of this.
Me too.
Great to get
Exciting.
you.
My first
Yes.
show in New York, and it's
Many more.
wonderful people. I'm really enjoying it, and I just love seeing the reaction with the sculpture last night. There were two young, maybe early 20-something, beautiful people that came in, and they were so fascinated with it, and they wanted to touch it, but were almost afraid to touch it. Like they even asked, "Can I touch it?" But just a reaction, that is, could you get a better compliment than that? Than someone loving your work and curious and interested, and that's my joy.
It's one of the best things about sculpture, right? Often you can say, "Yes, go ahead and touch it."
Yeah.
Right?
So it's like it comes full circle. You're alone in your practice, and then you finally get to the point where you can show it to people and see their joy and curiosity. It's all worth it. It's the gift.
All right. Well, thank you very much,
Thank you.
and thank everybody for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Christina Bertsos,